deals exist everywhere. Now, it all depends on how creative you are with your vision and what you see when you look at the property. Hi guys, it's Arsh, Ellahi, and in today's video we're actually out on site. We're in London. So people tell me that deals do not exist in London, and it's really interesting because the cameraman is a young man called Luke. Say hi, Luke.
Hello.
So so Luke is the vendor of this property, and we just happened to stumble across this property. So Luke, I tell you what, let me take this. Do you mind if you come on camera just for a second? So Luke is a property investor. So Luke, how long have you been investing in property?
Probably about 3 years.
Okay, cool. So this property that I'm just going to show everyone now, tell me very briefly the background.
So this was bought by my parents about 3 years ago, and it's got a little annex at the side. It's got the main house and it's got this big garden. So really it was just bringing you down and getting a view as to whether there's any value you could add to it. It feels like there's something to do, I just don't know what.
Okay, so did you know before I came down today what I was going to propose?
Not really. I knew there was a big space, but I didn't know what you were going to say.
Okay, so we've also got here ANNUM.
Hello guys.
So ANNUM is from
Solio.
Okay, what's the name of the company, ANNUM?
ANNUM Design Limited.
Okay, so ANNUM is the architect that we brought down from the West Midlands to come and have a look at Luke's property. So when I came, we were originally looking at, Luke wanted to try and put an extension or something to extend the main house. However, my attraction came to this piece of land. Now, the piece of land is quite a distance away from the main house. And my first thought is, can we get another dwelling on here? So here's a couple of pointers that I said to Luke straight away, is that I'm gonna just try and point this out here. We're on a residential road. We're on a very clear residential road, and right, we're just off, I wouldn't say a high street, but we're still within a good residential location. And we can still build within the same build line of the rest of the street. Now we've got a bit of a window there, and we've got another window which you can just see pitching over the roof there. They're both obscure glass, which means that they are either a kitchen or bathroom, which won't cause us a bit of an issue. Now, with ANNUM's help, the plan is that we're going to try and take out these 3 panels, and this is going to become the parking area. Agree, ANNUM? So this garden patch here, this growing patch here, is going to become the parking for these houses. And we're going to continue with the build line just where we're standing now, and we're going to go all the way back. And we're going to go all the way back to the original build. Can you see the original build? There, they've put an extension on, but we're going to go back to the original build. Now, we are going to have to do some stuff with the garden. As you can see, it's a little bit overgrown. But we're then going to try and go for, ANNUM, do you reckon 2.5 story? Are we going to stick with 2? Are we going to carry on with the build line?
We're technically going to match the build line of the houses on the street.
Okay.
It's a good precedent for us to follow.
So they're gonna be the precedent. Is that right?
That's very true. Yeah.
Okay. So Luke, based on the fact of this, now let's just have a quick look at some numbers. How much did you pay for this building?
380.
So you paid £380,000 for this building, and you've owned it 3 years. You said, and the house is currently rented for 1,600, and then you've got the annex, which is on the side.
750.
Okay, so about 750. So it's producing, my maths, 2350. And we're going to try and also get another mini flat just above there. So the aim is to have house, dwelling, but more importantly, I think the key here is to get dwelling here too. Now, based on the fact that if we can try and get planning permission in place, what do you reckon a house on the street's worth?
Probably about 430, 440.
430, 440. So that means that, technically speaking, that plot alone, subject to planning being approved, is going to be within the region of what? Between
350? It's a bit smaller, is it?
No, what as a house? We're sorry, I'm talking as a plot. Thinking
as a
we'll be
plot.
within the region between 150 to 200,000.
Very true, yeah.
So based on that, we're going to increase the value of this, let's say this whole building. So we've got the plot, then we've got the house, and we've got the flat there, and we're going to increase it by the best part of £200,000 just by being creative. Now, one of the questions that Luke asked was that, do I have to build it? And the honest answer is no, because he doesn't necessarily need to build it to actually add the value. All he needs to do is get the planning permission in place. Now, the reason why I've got ANNUM here is because this is what ANNUM specialises in. So how hard would it be to get planning permission on something like this?
I think the plot like this kind of nature, which is a corner plot, and then it's about on 2 streets, it's quite likely chances of being get approved. In a planning term, we call it backland development. And the backland development is where the house got a back garden. It's kind of long enough to have another dwelling on the back facing the side road, and then especially in this case, so that is the ideal dwelling, ideal plot for that kind of development here. So what we really feel is that the houses on that street could be another house more or less with the same building line, and then could still leave enough back garden for the house dwelling at the front. So in terms of the planning, there's quite a good perspective here to get the planning through on this project.
Okay, so there are lots of properties like this in this location, and I'm gonna call this part 1. I'm gonna show you part 2 in a second. We're gonna go and have a look at another one of Luke's potential deals. And people say that deals don't exist in London. By the way, we're still in London, aren't we?
Yeah, we're still in London.
So people tell me all the time that deals do not exist in London. So I'm going to show you property number 2, and you make that decision as to whether you would do this deal. More importantly, comment below as to whether you would build this or whether you would just literally get the planning and sell the plot. So look forward to seeing your comments, and let's go on to property number 2. Right guys, here we are, property number 2. We're still in London. We're just on the outskirts of London in an area called Bexley Heath, and people always say to me all the time that they can't find deals in London. Well, I'm going to be showing you one that Luke is going to be adding massive value. So here we go. Thank you, Luke. I'm going to quickly introduce Luke again. So Luke, we're looking at this property. That's the greatest wave I've ever seen. So we're looking at a property here, Bexley Heath, and the one thing I am going to say to you is that we're actually in the process just negotiating a lease option on this property. Now I'm going to quickly show you. I'm not going to give away too much because this is Luke's deal, but we're on a really residential street. And our plan is to potentially, where we've just come from, is put another dwelling over there. So we're far enough away from that house, and we're going to put another dwelling there, and there's potential to convert that house into multiple dwellings as well. So we're going to work on multiple dwellings in the main house. We're going to work on the basis that we're going to get planning permission granted for a double-story dwelling here. You can see that we've already got a drop curb. We're in a nice residential location, and based on the fact of that, the capital input on this property is going to be quite minimal, and we're going to try and maximize the return on it. More importantly, Luke is then going to be able to benefit from its new gain. So Luke, what do you reckon to our thoughts of converting this space into a new dwelling? Is that something that you considered when you looked at it?
Again, there was a lot of space. I wasn't sure what to do with it, whether it would just be a 1-bedroom flat in the garden or whether we get permission to put another story on top. So I really wasn't sure.
So ANNUM, now over to the expert. So ANNUM, so tell me, from what we've seen here, is it possible what we're looking to achieve?
Certainly, I think this property excites me a bit more than the property we looked before that one, and this property is on a very, very generous sized plot, and the dwelling at the front, which is quite far from here, which is more than about 20 meters where we are standing, and the property on the other hand side as well, equally about more than 20 meters apart. So it does throw a very kind of a bright opportunity again for the backland development, putting a dwelling on the rear garden of the host dwelling. And equally in this property we have seen there's a drop curb as well from the street, which is very positive. And the width of this plot is quite wide. It's more than 10 meters, so it is very promising to have a dwelling with a traditional bit of back garden on the side and a bit of garden we can take from the host property as well to make it a generous plot enough for the new dwelling.
Okay, and then Luke, the plan is, this is a lease option, as I've just disclosed. So we're going to give the owner some funds. She's going to go off and do whatever she needs to do. We're then going to take control of the property, get planning permission granted for potentially this space here, but also potentially look at multi-dwelling the house so that we're generating some cash flow from there. And also this is almost like the cherry on top, shall we say?
Yep.
And then either the plan is to either then sell the whole lot, or potentially then go off and do the purchase and then the refinance and potentially have a great deal.
Sure.
How does that sound?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, okay. Anjum, is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, that's definitely the best opportunity for a backland development.
So there we go, guys. So as you can see, deals exist everywhere. Now, it all depends on how creative you are with your vision and what you see when you look at the property. Now, the one thing I will say is that Luke said to me earlier that he'd seen lots of opportunities like this, but because he didn't really understand or didn't really visualize what we saw today, he kind of passed them over. And here's where you guys kind of come into play, because if you see something, you don't really see the vision for it, why don't you email me? So why don't you drop it over on an email to admin@arshilahi.com, and I'll get the likes of Anjum to have a quick look at it. I'll look at it and see what we can do to add value for it. And as a result, if we can work together, that'd be something phenomenal. So that kind of brings us to a close to this video. Hopefully you really enjoyed it. One thing I forgot to say at the start of this video, please press subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every time I release a new video, you get notified of it. If you like more free content like this, please feel free to go and check out the Property Rebel podcast. I release a new podcast every Tuesday at 6 a.m. As well as that, you can connect with me on social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Clubhouse, all under the handle Arsh Ellahi. And if you like to see opportunities just like this, lease options, rent to rent, service accommodation deals, below market value deals, just to name a few, have you checked out the Property Investor app? It's the UK's first platform which showcases all kinds of property investment deals just like this. There's two ways to get involved. You can either go to our website, which is propertyinvestораpp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, literally go to the App Store and type in Property Investor. It takes 2 minutes to download and register, and you'll see all kinds of deals in the palm of your hand for completely free. So on that note, guys, from myself, from Luke, and Anjum,
Bye guys.
I want to say I wish you all the best, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.